Hello, everybody. Hello, world. Still not from Tiger Woods. This is week one, day one, hour one, minute one of the Josh J. Pickleball Show. Hopes is deliver this show live every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern. It'll be your little place to come hang out, talk pickleball with us for the week. But unfortunately, I have been under the weather. I just knocked out the last of my Theraflu, so I have about 30 minutes where I'm going to be feeling okay before I get too loopy. So we'll try to get the show in for that. I think there's nothing worse than grinding all work week and then Saturday morning waking up feeling like crap, missing the entirety of the weekend. I'd hoped to sort of spend some time on the show, hang out with some friends, reconnect. But unfortunately, I was in bed, and so the show was delayed. But here we are, getting it in 9 p.m. on a Monday night. Going to catch up on past week's action in China, but also talk a little bit about pickleball in the show. As far as the show, what it will become, that is sort of up in the air still. A big part of that is on me. If I'm able to deliver a product that you guys enjoy, that is actually serving the community, you're enjoying my takes as a former sort of pro player, my insights as a coach, my background in relationships and being in pickleball for the last 9+ years, the fact that I have traveled the world, seen it in sort of all parts of the world, can discuss that. We will have live guests every week. We'll be bringing 2 or 3 live guests in. Unfortunately, won't be able to do that this week because our timing got a bit messed up with the illness, but we'll bring that all in. Additionally, are you guys engaging? Are you guys able to hop on in and say, hey, Josh, we're really liking this, or hey, a little bit more of this. Hey, I'm in the chat. I'm blowing you up, whatever that may be. If you guys are engaging and I'm delivering a product, this can definitely grow into something pretty special. With that said, not expecting this to be a home run right out the gate. Done no marketing for this. Really just sort of getting the wheels spinning, and hopefully it turns out into be something pretty cool. So bear with me as we sort of um, kick the tires on this thing and see where we can take it. But I'm definitely excited, and I appreciate anyone that does tune in. Um, as far as what the show is in my head right now, biggest thing is I want to bring some passion to you guys. I want you to know and feel that I love pickleball. I want you guys to love pickleball. I want you to be here because you're engaged and curious about pickleball, and this is a place for you guys. I would say that for the last maybe 6, 9 months, I haven't been there as far as how much I'm loving pickleball, but that is all changing. And I'm going to use this show as sort of my platform to showcase my passion and love for pickleball. So appreciate you being here. Appreciate you tuning in. I will say, in general, I want the theme of this to be positive. I want the comments to be positive, the engagement to be positive. I also want to talk about and highlight the good things that are happening in pickleball. This is not the show to talk about bad line calls or who's dating who. If it is actually things that are taking place on the court, we can definitely talk about it. Some of those may be too big to ignore. We can talk about maybe potential for, hey, some rules changes, or hey, what's going on with cameras. But for the most part, I want this to be positive in general. There's enough good things in pickleball that we can absolutely focus on. Um, with that said, relationships are definitely going to come up. But how about the relationship of, hey, what's it going to be like next year seeing Gay play with Catherine Parento? Maybe a little bit more dynamic than Jesse, but Jesse was super solid. Really nice to have a solid player with tons of experience when there was someone that's a little bit more junior as Gabe is and only just coming in at 20. But those are the conversations we want to be having as opposed to all the off-court crap. As far as me and why you may want to listen to me, so I have been in pickleball for over 9 years now. So way before it was cool, way before it was trendy, way before anyone thought about putting a live show on YouTube. Um, with that, tons of relationships, tons of people that I have been able to connect with and or learn from. None more important than sort of Ben Johns. I'm very fortunate from Maryland having a relationship with Ben and or Colin. Both of them actually from Maryland, so I've been able to hang out and spend some time with the two of them. And also saw them when I did play professionally a little bit. Was not a star by any means, but made tons of main draws. Did I beat Riley Newman? Yes. Was it when he played with his MLP owner? Also yes. But I did take a match, 2 out of 3 over Gabe and Wyatt several years back, so I was no slouch. Got rocked by Andre on center court, so I've done a thing or two in the professional game where I can talk about the things that are taking place there, the strategies, the mindsets, and I am connected enough to know that. And you pair that with my background in coaching. So 2018, I saw Seymour Rifkin. I saw Riff in the IPTPA and got my coaching certification down in Memphis. Taylor was there. Stephanie Lane, of course, was there. So was learning from sort of some original pioneers in pickleball coaching, and that led me to sort of going all around the world to coach. Did coach with Ben, both domestically and internationally. Opportunities to coach with people like Preston Buys, one of my best friends. He definitely will be on here if you don't know Preston. He is a character. I think week one we'll have him talk about his theory on bodybuilding. That'll blow your mind. Also with like Fetty and Tyson and Colin, all these great minds. So be able to share that. For the last year and a half, I have also worked with Colin Johns to develop Racket Pro. Racket Pro was sort of his brainchild, and I will say there's not a greater mind in all of pickleball than Colin Johns. In fact, when you took at the two Johns brothers, Colin with his mind and his ability to read, understand games, develop strategies, and Ben's ability to communicate in a simplistic form that is also multi-layered. I think Matt Wright talked about that on Pickleballers the other day, the podcast with Jared and Roscoe. So being able to learn from those two is going to be fantastic. I will say though, my affiliation with Yola for the last couple of years, and then Racket Pro, everything that I'll be sharing is going to be mine and mine only. Any of the ideas, thoughts, what's going on in my head, these are all my ideas that I've garnered through my experiences in the sport. We're also going to have an interview segment, so I will be bringing 2 or 3 guests on each and every week, talk about the game of pickleball. So if you have some questions, you have some people you want to reach out to, we'll have Jack on, we'll have Preston on, we'll have Brooke on, some of my favorites. We'll also be branching out to get some additional people. And not just people in the professional space. I want to get people from sort of all walks of life, especially those in the content space. I'm very fortunate to sort of be riding the coattails of some pretty impressive people when it comes to what people are doing in the content space. We'll talk about Kyle Kazuda and that pickleball school, Tanner Tomasi, Pickleball in 60 Seconds. Then you got Richard Liebernes. We got a lot of the pro players that are also sort of dabbling in that coaching space. You got then Zane Narvaltu, who's talking about his perspectives. Johnson Cole is always sort of right there. Pickleball has jumped into it. We'll also be talking with Eva Ignatowicz, who's got a little bit more of a different take. I'd love to get the female perspective on what's going on in pickleball. Then we're talking about people from an equipment standpoint. We'll talk about Rafa. I'll talk about Chris Olsen, the pickleball studio. So I'm a big believer that rising tide lift all boats. And if I can provide some value in the content space, highlight some of those people, that'll definitely benefit pickleball as a whole and sort of showcase my passion that I have for it. With it being a pickleball podcast and or show, I'm going to call it a show, but you may refer to it as podcast, but we are live. You are going to get a lot of professional pickleball. With that, we're obviously going to be talking about the PPA Tour. That is sort of the primary tour that is in the pickleball space right now, where a majority of the best players are all playing. So we're definitely going to have large amounts of segments that'll be on the PPA Tour. However, we're going to talk about the APP Tour. We're going to talk about NPL if something's going on. We'll talk about USLPL if something's going on there. We got Heidi and Wayman here in Maryland that are doing the 35 plus. They just had the 50 plus in Baltimore this past weekend. So we'll talk about that. If there are things that are going on internationally, we'll talk about those. We had a tournament a couple weeks ago. Jack Monroe played with Wang Yun down at DJoy in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Haven't heard Wang Yun in a minute. We'll talk about that and showcase that. Spoiler alert, they won that. So we'll definitely be touching on all those things, even some big money balls. We'll talk about Cody, another Maryland guy, and talk about his brick wall that my boys Oscar and Sunil won down at the fort a couple weeks ago. So we'll be talking about all the pickleball action. All right. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we're shooting for. Connectivity, people that are engaging. That's really what we are focusing. So I appreciate it. I will reiterate one more time before we dive into this week's show that this is going to be positive in nature. This is not the gossip hour. This is not negativity. This is things we can do to improve the game. This is things we can share. There's a ton of good stories going around to sort of showcase pickleball. And to that, let's jump right in and talk about what took place this past weekend. PPA Tour Asia had their last stop of the year. They were over there in Hangzhou in China. Hangzhou is a little bit north, so majority of the PPA Tour Asia stops this year have been in warmer climates. We're talking about Malaysia, we're talking about Vietnam. They are using the Yola X, or excuse me, Yola HC40 ball over there as opposed to the Lifetime ball here. That ball's going to play a little bit slower, so slower and typically warmer conditions. However, up in China this past weekend, it was a little bit cooler. So when we have cooler conditions, the ball plays a little bit firmer and faster. However, I was talking to Federico Staxrud. He texted me and gave me an update that it was not playing as fast as the Lifetime ball, so definitely slower. Also needed to note that it was on a roll-out court over top a basketball court. So a little bit different than you typically see here in the States. However, pretty good tournament, and let's get right into it. So first thing we're going to talk about are men's singles. Well, to the quarterfinals is where we're starting there on the left, and for the most part, first 3 or 4 matches all went as I would have expected. We had Fede winning, we had Nam winning, and we had Hien winning. Hien versus Trin, that's a pretty close matchup. I would have said probably a couple months ago Trin was going to win that more often than not, but really Hien's made a big adjustment the last couple weeks and has been playing some fantastic pickleball. And then my guy, Hong Kit Wong, Jack Wong at Jack's on Pickleball, one of my great buddies from Hong Kong. He got the big win over Connor Garnett, 11-4, 11-3. Connor actually came to Japan earlier this year and triple crowned, walked right through it, winning all 3 events. A little bit different time around, as he actually did not even compete, or she did not even win a medal this time around. So definitely pretty interesting to see how he went from champ to not even medaling this time around. So we get to the semifinals. First semifinal of the day was on the bottom half. We had Jack versus Hien, and best I had seen Jack play in some time. A little bit of a closer game 1, and then just ran through him in game 2. Really, really impressive. Jack and I were texting after that. I think he was gonna beat anybody in front of him. He was on cloud 9, ready to go. But what happened in the second match, I think maybe had a slight impact. Federico Staxrud lost to Nam in 2 straight games. Fede was up 9-8 in game 2. Thing that you need to know about Nam, and I played a handful of pickleball with him both times I was over in Vietnam, just super clean from the back of the court. So his returns and his ground strokes are super clean, both forehand and backhand, tons of power. And really was able to, I don't think he missed much on the backhand wing all day. And when you're getting those returns super, super deep, especially on the court where the ball maybe was not bouncing as high and you were able to get all the way in, he was able to really dictate the game when he was up there at the kitchen. So Nam won that match, even though Fede had 9-8 in the second. And then it was Nam versus Jack, two guys that I am friends with. I was definitely pulling for Jack. No offense, Nam, I love you, but Nam came out too strong. Jack had been talking about how he had been pretty much going for all of his shots, swinging big the entire time, but Nam was reading them. And 11-4, 11-4, Nam was your champion. I believe this was maybe the 4th or 5th medal for Nam in pickleball. He is a former, I believe, Wimbledon champion, junior champion, and was probably top 250 in the world, best player in Vietnam for many, many years, made the transition to pickleball. I was over there in Ho Chi Minh with him in, I believe, December, and he was not anywhere close on a doubles. He was still really, really good in singles, but nowhere close in doubles. And it's funny, I was talking to Jack, and in tennis, Nam always got the best of him. And he was like, pickleball, I'm hoping to get the best of him. But Nam got him this time, but I expect those two to be at the top at pretty much every event next year. Jack, I believe, ended up with the most points for all of the singles events in Asia, including a win in 2 seconds. Pretty much a perennial podium guy at PPA Tour in Asia, but let's give it up to Nam getting his first gold medal. Over on the ladies' side, first off, I just want to give a quick shout out. We had Ken, Sophia, Yufei, and Jamie, 4 straight players there at the left side in the quarterfinals, all of which were of the PPA Trailblazers. So right now at the 002 in Ho Chi Minh City, actually it's not the 02, but it is in Ho Chi Minh City. I forget where it is. But we do have Colin is over there, and he is working with the UPA Trailblazers at season 2. And I gotta admit, it is a success if at the quarterfinal level you are having 4 players make it that are all part of the Trailblazer program. Um, as far as Zoe gets the Chao Yiwang gets the win over Ken in the first quarterfinals. You had Yufei over Sophia. Yufei probably the strongest singles player out of that bunch that is the Trailblazers. And then Nicola over Jamie. And then at the bottom, Nikita, who had a great run in mixed doubles we'll talk about shortly. And also at the World Cup for Hong Kong, she lost to Sarah. Top half, we had Yufei and Zoe. Zoe coming from Taiwan, Yufei coming from mainland China, so sort of a home match for the two of them. Zoe won. They played earlier this year in Atlanta, the first time I actually met Yufei. Zoe steamrolled in game 1, but in game 2, I believe Yufei had, it was close. I believe it was 12-10 in the second. But Zoe did prevail in 2 straight games in this one. And then Saradani winning over fellow Australian in the bottom half in 2. And then Sarah again over Zoe in the finals. This happened way too early in the morning for me to catch any of the action, but I will say, including a win in PPA down in Australia and a win the PPA earlier this year in, I believe it was Vietnam. That is 3 PPA titles in a row on different continents for Sarah, who's probably maybe a top 10 singles player in the world. Let's look at the end of the year on my overall rankings in singles and doubles as far as it goes. But definitely a strong performance from her and someone to sort of look out for, especially Zoe coming off of a gold medal match against Annalie Waters here in Lakeland, Florida, just a week and a half prior. So great showing for her and Sarah to get that win. Let's take a look at our first sponsor, and we'll look at some of those Vietnamese players that we just talked on. Nam is my partner in this video, and I am also going to be playing against Jack and Kimmy. Full cramp, and Kimmy, one of the nicest guys in the world, just goes straight for the bag. I'm down on the ground, not a proponent of throwing your paddle, but I absolutely got lost in that setting. This would be a great ad for electrolytes, but this is your That's Filthy, Better Get Clean with Off-Court moment of the day. For those that aren't familiar, Off-Court reached out to them several months back. I believe they're, I don't know how to classify them, hygiene products company, but I will tell you this. When I was actually on a date in Vietnam, I came up with the theory that you don't need to wear a moisturizer or any face lotion when you're in Southeast Asia because you are sweating way too much. I have a face cream that I use every day. At 37, I've fallen into a little bit of a habit of a skincare routine, but I will tell you what, within 2 minutes of every time I play, my daily moisturizer would become like caked on my face and would be sort of a goo when I layer it with sweat. When I use the off-course, the hydration moisturizer, it is much lighter and thinner. It doesn't sort of create that sort of greenhouse effect on my face that feels like I'm just dripping in sweat and goop. It stays on sort of, as they say, it works with the sweat. I cannot recommend that product enough. They also have the exfoliating bar soap that I take with me on all trips and some body sprays as well. So off court, that's your That Filthy, Better Get Clean with Off Court moment coming to you live from Vietnam. There I was with Nam, Kimmy, and Jack. All right, let's take a look at those men's doubles. So our number 1 seeds, Federico Staxrud and on Batia, they got over, look at Marco, another Trailblazer. Trailblazer doing so well. They would actually advance all the way to the finals. They got by Thomas Yu and Len Yang. Thomas Yu played collegiate tennis with his brother at Johns Hopkins, which is like 30 minutes from me, leaves Hopkins and then picks up pickleball. Unfortunately, if he had just started pickleball 2 or 3 years earlier, I would have had great people to play with, and I would have loved that. Len Yang, awesome guy. Now hanging out in Austin, Texas, one of the best flicks in the game. Great representative of pickleball coming over from table tennis. They go down Teferi and Armand in that semifinals. And bottom half, let's give it up to Kimmy and Jack had a chance against Price and Haas and Tama, but Tama, the 14-year-old, a little bit too strong. They were able to squeak into that semifinal. And at the bottom, Hien and Kwando, they are able to go ahead and take that victory over Blaine Javier and Connor Garnett. Again, I talked about Connor, able to roll through Japan PPA earlier this year, but having a little bit more trouble this time around. Granted, probably a fairly new partnership with Blaine. Haven't played with him too much, and Hien and Quan play all the time. You can see them all the time playing together down there in District 1 in Ho Chi Minh City. When I left Vietnam for the first time, I thought Quan Do was the best player that was sort of playing. Wang Yu and Quan Dong wasn't playing a ton, but I was really impressed with Quan Do's his play, and him and Hien get that win in the semifinal and set up their first final. So pretty strong showing with Hien in making it to 2 semifinals, but this time they make it to a final, and wouldn't you know it, in fairly strong fashion in games 2 and 3, they are able to pull it out over Fede and Armand. I will say Fede and Armand didn't really ever look super comfortable on who's playing left and who's playing right, mixing that up a little bit. But I will give Fed a shout out. He competed his butt off in the first 2 disciplines, men's singles and men's doubles, getting a bronze, ended up in men's singles, and here the silver in men's doubles. So let's give it up to Trong and Do. 2 awesome performances. Hien is pretty young. Quan Do is pretty old. In fact, I think he was the #1 player in Vietnam in tennis prior to Nam taking over. So it's sort of cool to see the passing of the torch in tennis, and now they are going head to head a lot in pickleball. So wonderful for them to finish the year getting their first gold medal. I will say that a lot of the strong performances we saw, Thomas Yu, Len Yang, they played together a bunch. Kimmy and Jack played together all year. Hien, Kwando playing together all year. I think there's something to say about people that have played tons and tons of their matches together. Now, over on the women's side of the draw, at the top, we have Alex Trong and Zoe. They were the #1 seeds. They were able to knock out Sophia and Sophia, 2 young players, 17 and 18, coming to you from Ho Chi Minh City. They were actually able to make it all the way through to the finals over Sarah Sardeni and Yufei, 2 Falcolos players, and then we had Sarah Burt and Jamie Haas taking over Ken and Nikita. And then down there we had Aiko and Cara Wheatley. So shout out Cara. She originally from Hong Kong, but had spent the last couple of years here in Maryland playing tennis at BYU. Aiko, great Yola player. Her husband, Kenta, they strong forces on the PPA Tour Asia. And then Jamie and Nicola down there at the bottom. They actually were a little bit of upset. Jamie also spent a good bit of time here in Maryland. I would have thought they could have come out on top, but Aiko is a very strong and resilient player, and Cara has a ton of firepower, and the moment was not too big for her. But Burr and Haas make it through in that semifinal, and they were to go on to take Zoe and Alex on in the championship. Zoe and Alex won the first game, and we're up fairly big in game 2, and I thought they were going to roll through, but impressive from Burr and Haas to see that sort of pushback. The lefty duos make it to a game 3, but Alex and Zoe are able to come out on top. I don't know how much Alex and Zoe have played together, but both of all these players in the draw have the most experience playing over there in Asia, outside of maybe Yufei and a couple of the Sophias who played in a ton of the matches, but tons of experience, and that is 3 in a row for Zoe on the PPA Tour Asian matches that she has competed in. So women's doubles 3 in a row for Zoe. She leaves with a silver in singles and a gold in women's doubles. All right, trivia time. For any of those that are still hanging out, let's drop a little message in the chat. What ball is used on the PPA Tour Asia? It is the Franklin XC40, the Durafast 40, the Lifetime 48, or the Yola HC40. Anybody in the chat, go ahead and chime in, and we will get an answer to you in a second. While we wait for that, let's take a look at the mixed doubles. Mixed doubles was filled with new partnerships, which I think is pretty cool. We had Alex and Federico at the top of the charts, and they pretty much ran through it. I believe Trent and them got a game, but they were able to make it all the way through to the finals. Match of the tournament may have been Nikita and Wong Kim. Kimmy going up against Yufei and Blaine. Two incredible match points saved. We had Kimmy with a speed up from the far right side of the court in front of Nikita, down the middle, down match point, and then a backhand volley lob over Yufei on another match point. They were able to pull it out on a missed dink and make it to the semifinals, and then they stayed hot, getting a big win over Armand and Zoe. Again, I think it's probably a case of Armand and Zoe not playing a ton together. Nikita and Kimmy having played together before. But in the finals, Alex and Fetty were too strong. So Alex Strong, again, another DMV native, walks away with 2 medals in mixed and women's, and Fetty, a medal of every color. He walks away with a singles bronze, a men's doubles silver, and a mixed doubles gold. So that is a wrap on what took place over there in Hangzhou, in China, at the Hangzhou Open. All right, let's take a quick look at that trivia again. And no one is in the chat, but the correct answer would be the Yola HC40. Yola HC40. So, pickleball around the world. Let's take a quick little chat on what is going on around the world. So, first thing to make note is we just had announcements come out from Duper and USAP and APP that they will be moving towards Duper. Look at Vina Wang. You are correct. Winner. We will send you a prize. Yes, Yola HC40 is the correct answer. We will send her a prize. I think we have to probably give it a little bit of a delay on the chat for the trivia, but that is all stuff we learn on. So they're choosing Duper. Initial thoughts on that. I would love Duper if it had a case where there is a differentiator between men's or gender doubles and mixed doubles. Unfortunately, that's not the case right now. I think you are seeing that Duper's proving to be a little bit too large of a force to reckon with at the moment. APP and USAP both sort of tried to make moves with UTR and other sort of rating systems. I think competition is good for the sport, but as we're seeing, sort of as we get more and more mature as a sport, sort of coming in and being a disruptor is going to be a little bit more difficult. Love competition. I think competition breeds growth, development. But I do think at the moment Duper is probably the best, and the reason that I think partnering with them made sense for APP and USAP. Still love to see them continue to develop. I'd love to see them not get complacent, but for now, that is the news. Likewise, things that we have coming up. We just had a next gen where we had Brooke and Ronan come out as the champions at the next gen. I believe the last next gen of the year. Really cool to see what APP has done with the next gen, providing them opportunities. I think it's a little bit interesting that those opportunities are sort of rooted right now in money, but I think it is money along with great experience is going to really go a long way for the development of those players, learning how to compete and or win with different partners. I think that's very important. Similarly, you're seeing a lot of that happen with the PPA Challenger. You'll hear me talk a lot about the PPA Challenger. That next event is coming up this weekend. We will be in Raleigh. They will be in Raleigh this weekend for PPA Challenger. It was the first kickoff of the event. Season 1 ended at Worlds in Dallas. If you have a chance, go on either the I don't believe it is on YouTube, but it is on Pickleball TV. Download Pickleball TV. If you are a subscriber of that, you're able to check on Grandstand on Saturday of Worlds. We had the finals, some fantastic matches. PPA Challengers really created a community. It's a little bit of a throwback where you're playing all day, same venue. We got Friday is going to be singles, Saturday is going to be gender, and Sunday is going to be mixed. And the winners, they handed out 8 PPA Tour gold cards. It was really, 8 PPA Tour contracts, and it's really a great place for people to hone their skills and sort of create a path for them to cut their teeth, learn how to win and compete, but also for the fact that players are allowed to compete as long as they're not top 20 in their discipline, is really, really important. You're getting to play against some actual contracted pro players as well. So that's a little check on what is going on in the world. Coming up, we have the last APP Tour event of the year. That'll be coming up at the Fort. So go ahead and check that out. Interesting to see. I know a lot of the top players, Jack Monroe, some players are over in India right now. I know Richard Leveness was down in uh, the Cayman. I'll see if they're going to be competing. We'll give you sort of a recap of that next week. Let's see how that sort of tour ends and what sort of they're looking for sort of coming up in 2026. I know they're looking at a global tour, but we'll sort of see what that has in store for them. They announced some PPA Tour Asia events. Ken's always sort of doing what he can to sort of grow the game. But we'll take a look to see what is coming from PPA Tour, excuse me, APP Tour in 2026 as we sort of finish that off down at the Fort. Let's see how much longer we have a voice. I do not know how much longer this is going to work, but we're going to keep running through. As far as last event coming up on the PPA Tour, we'll be down in Daytona 2 weeks from now, and we'll be getting underway. I do believe a lot of the top players will be competing. I believe Annalie Waters will be there. She'll be playing doubles with Georgia. We'll have some of the players that are looking for additional points and rankings. We're looking for some players to finish out year number one in their discipline. I really believe the only event that is up is potentially men's singles. I wonder if the reason that Fed went over to Asia was to get some additional points to sort of regain and or finish that year at number one. That'll be interesting. We'll take a look at that as we preview that next week. All right. Let's take one more look at Off Court as our sponsor. There we go, getting the best of Jack there. We love that. I need to grease this chair up. It is making tons and tons of noise. All right, we're getting a little bit loopy, and apologies that we are sniffing on the actual air, but get filthy, or that's filthy, better get clean with off court. It can clean all that kind of stuff right where I hit Jack with their exfoliating bar soap. Again, if you missed it earlier, cannot stress how great off court is. The facial moisturizer I use anytime I compete in or workout prevents having that sort of goopy, greasy face. So definitely check that out. If you are actually on, feel free to drop a chat. We will absolutely be calling people out that we see, and we are appreciating everybody that has joined in. All right, what else do we have to talk about today? We have another sponsor. We'll give a quick shout out to Ultra Slide. Unbelievable. So that is a guy that is not using Ultra Slide. So if you're not familiar with Ultra Slide is a fantastic tool. Utilize that for lateral movement. In fact, most players tend to sort of go up before going out. You want to condense down to the ball. If you've ever spent a lesson with Preston, you're going to know that is the emphasis on most of his lessons is efficiency and movement. Ultra Slide really trains you to have that lateral down towards the ball movement. You see a lot of colleges, you see a lot of professional teams, both the Toronto Blue Jays, LA Dodgers, they were using it. It's very big in ice skating, very big in collegiate tennis. A great training aid. I have one in my house. I've used it for the last, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years. Great team at Ultra Slide. Go ahead and check them out if you want to be moving properly, not like that guy you just saw in that video. All right. We got one more sort of, two more little segments that we are going to sort of fire off here. We are going to have our Coach's Corner. Each week we are going to have a little bit of an educational segment. This week we will be dropping in with Ben. Unfortunately, not Ben Johns, Ben McNair, great friend of mine based in Las Vegas, tremendous player and also a heck of a coach. He's actually just finishing up a Pickleball Getaways right now. We'll talk about Pickleball Getaways when we get back, but I want you to sort of take this in. We'll be focusing on the forehand dink. getting that ball at 6 o'clock, rising up the back of that ball, all right? Take a look at Ben and I as we are working on the forehand topspin dink.
Ben loves starting this straight ahead because if you can get the topspin straight ahead with the higher net, shorter distance, there's typically a greater emphasis of the low to high motion. We feel like if you're going cross court, he feels like if we're going cross court, you can kind of get away with a little bit more because you have that more margin. So in a game, maybe easier, but as far as learning this and sort of making this part of your repertoire, straight ahead over the high part of the net, short distance. Is that right? Mm-hmm. All right, show me some, baby. Again, look how he's staying on that same side. Paddle always on his right side. How am I doing? Does this look good for me?
This looks good. Notice that we're not straight arming it and that we're trying to get our frame behind it as best as we can. We have a slight bend in our elbow as we finish, as we are trying to go up with that ball to create margins.
Real quick, come in. Let's show the grips. Show the grips that we're using. Similar-ish for the most part. One a little Conti, one a little Eastern, but it really, you can do it with either, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, can't do it with that. Ben, I just got this in. The people want to see a straight-on dink battle to 3. Can you give the people what they want?
I can give them what they want.
All right, on your mark, get set. We're going. We're in. Oh, look at topspin dink. Look at topspin dink. You can speed up. You can do whatever you want. All is fair game. Oh, he didn't think that was coming back. Folks, he did not think that was coming back. So, I got lucky, but his mimicking of his dink with his speed up makes this a pretty effective shot.
Yes, that 100% is the case, and I cannot stress that point enough. It is very important to be able to hit this shot, to be able to move people on, but the pressure you can put on, let's see, can I get this on camera, where you're going up the back of the ball, and this looks like a dink, up, next thing you know, it's a speed up, dink, up, speed up. The closer those two motions can look, not only is it going to make your dinks more effective, but it's also really going to disguise your speed ups. I can't tell you how many points are won when you've shown the speed up, and then you have that same motion for the dink. They stand up, not what you want to do. They stand up, and then they have to get back down to hit that dink. By the way, right here we have this mini paddle by Yola. This is Maryland flag rates here. How cool is this stuff? Let's take a look at that. Boom, mini paddle by Yola. It's a Perseus with the Maryland flag. You know anything about Maryland, people love their Maryland flag and stuff. Get this, Yola store just opened. Let's take a look at those same shots from the side view.
Come on. All right, mark, get set. We're going. We're in. Oh, look at the topspin dink. Look at the topspin dink. You can speed up, you can do whatever you want. All is fair game. Oh! He didn't think that was coming back. Folks, he did not think that was coming back.
Yep, there we have it. Look how similar his motions looked when he was dinking versus speeding up. Dinking versus speeding up. That is what you're going to get for the topspin dink. Unfortunately, we can't put that entire video on because Jack, shout out Pickleball Jack, Courtney, and the whole NPL family. Unfortunately, their dogs and Ben and Allie's dog were barking the entire time, so we couldn't get that, but that was a usable clip that we were able to showcase for the coach's corner. This will live up there the entire time, so you're able to definitely go ahead and check that out. We'll take one little quick last shout out from our sponsor, Off Court, before we go ahead and wrap this up. Okay, I'm gonna show you that again, but that's Ben Johns. I'm playing with him, playing right side, 10% of the court, while Ben dominating the left. Going up against Rob Cassidy and Danny Jensen, two great guys, awesome buddies. Out of Pickleball Getaways in Antigua last year. But I want you to Ben. He goes behind the back, speed up, forehand put away. Rob, of course, great defense, gets it back, and then it goes scorpion, scorpion. So check this out one more time. A lot of people say my reset made that point, but they are incorrect. So yeah, that's Pickleball Getaways. If you're not familiar or haven't been on Pickleball Getaways, I've probably been on like 7, 8 now, maybe 9. I'm not even sure. All around the world. Used to just be down in the Caribbean and in Europe, but they are now expanding and going to actually be in Vietnam this year. It was originally started by Deckel and Ben. They go on a handful of trips too. It is an absolutely fantastic time. The community that has been created there is like none other. I literally spent my Thanksgiving messaging tons of 30, 40, 50, 60, and or 70-year-old people, all from Pickleball Getaways, just talking about how awesome it is that I met them, that they're in my lives now, and sort of what a treat it has been to be able to go with them. They are like family. Preston buys is pretty much on every single trip. If you haven't met Preston, he is not only a fantastic athlete, pickleball coach, guru, all that stuff, but just tons and tons of fun. Does he talk a little bit too much? Yeah. Do we fight all the time? Yeah, a lot less than we used to. But he is 100% at every single Pickleball Getaways, making sure you guys have a ton of fun. So check out Pickleball Getaways. Go on a trip. I believe they have some stuff Mexico this year. Then they're in Costa Rica, Vietnam, Turks and Caicos. So they fill up pretty quickly. But go check out Pickleball Getaways and join the Pickleball Getaways family. All right, we got one little challenge. I want you guys to go out and get this. Is there a better stocking stuffer than this? I'm not paid to say this by any means, but how cool is this? I'd give this to pretty much every of my friends' kids that have had a. That's not true. Every one of my friends that had kids. Yeah, that's true. I've given them one of these, and they fantastic gift, but also great stocking stuff. We're gonna do a little bit of challenge. Side paddle bounces. This is a live show. Let's see how many we can get. If you get more than 20, send me the video. We'll showcase it. 1, 2. I don't think that was 20. All right. That is pretty much going to wrap us for this week. Typically, will be a little bit more of an hour 30 show. We're going to have multiple guests. We will have Jack on. We will absolutely have Preston on. We will have Brooke on. We're going to have a ton of fun. Probably a special guest of Mr. Jan is going to be on the 22nd, but Mondays at 11 o'clock moving forward, the Josh J. Pickleball Show. If you want to be showcased, if you want to be in the Ultra Slide move of the week, send me a video. If you want to be in one of the off-court, that's filthy, better get clean with off-court videos, send me a video. We happily showcase you guys. If you want to partake in any other way, have a story to share, have something like that of that nature, please feel free to reach out to me on socials. If you're a sponsor and you want to get in, probably not worth your money yet, but we will absolutely get you. I don't know why I said that. I will absolutely partner with you. An electrolyte company would be great, especially as we are going on these trips to Southeast Asia and down to the Caribbean. So this is where you can find us at Josh J. Pickleball. We appreciate those that sort of tuned in. We had 35 people pop in. We appreciate that. Did not even advertise this for the first week. We'll catch you on the 15th at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you for stopping in to the Josh J. Pickleball Show.